Okay, that's us. Hey, hello everyone. Hopefully there's people here. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So it's Barb again. I'm back for episode 4 of the indie roundtables, which were only supposed to be for August, for indie August, but they've been so popular that authors have been approaching me and asking me, can they come on? And I'm going to extend them into September. I have 3 lovely people here and the authors who I want to chat to with you guys in the comments. And yeah, we're going to chat for about an hour or so, just about writing and everything else. So if you want to go round, guys, if you want to just introduce yourself and then just any new releases, any books that you have, or anything that you want to talk about, and just give us a quick snapshot of yourself and how you're getting on and stuff. Gord, if you want to start first.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm Gordon G. Bowman. I've published 1 book so far, and the sequel is coming out shortly. It's almost done. It's actually, yeah, that's funny. This is the original cover, and then I had to change, but I changed it later on. See, the series itself is actually called Telepath, and then I realized later that what do I do when the second book comes along? Is it just going to be like the tiniest little bit that changes here every time? So I changed the cover after all to say, okay, no, the first book it says Fractured in big letters, and then it says, book 1, Telepath, that sort of thing. So kind of newbie mistake, but not like I had a whole ton of orders in the first place, so I don't think most people noticed. But yeah, anyway, I wrote that book. I started writing it ages ago. It was for my kids, and never really took it that seriously. But eventually, I finished it off, and now I've got book 2 almost out, and I'll have a 3rd book in the series, and yeah, I'll move on to other stuff.
Brilliant. And Dave?
All right. I am Dave Lawson. I was serious about being on, Alex. And I have been writing for a long time, but I finally have written a full novel and not just short stories or a novella type thing. And so my first fantasy novel, The Envoys of War, which has a very epic title and somewhat epic cover and is a humorous fantasy, because I did that, is coming out in October. I sent out ARCs a little bit over a week ago, and I've had few people read it so far, and it's been really fun to hear from them and everything like that. So I'm really excited and enjoying it while also being a mess of anxiety, as usual. So that is me.
You don't look like you're a very anxious person, Dave, to be fair.
Underneath the smile, it is all anxiety.
Oh, Bella had the same thought. No one thought you were coming on. And Rob, what about you then? Hi, thanks for coming on.
I'm Ari Sanders, Rob. Call me Rob. I'm a fantasy author from the UK. I released my debut novel, Apart the Blades, which looks like this. It's a short standalone fantasy. I released that a year ago. Pretty popular. It's run pretty well. I think people like standalones, actually. I think the whole thing with epic fantasy is big series, and sometimes there's a space for it's quite a short book, actually, a short standalone book, which, and it is its own world, and you can just read it as one go. It's in the same world as my forthcoming epic series, which begins with Demon's Tear, which is Barb's read, Dave's reading. It's a big book. I started this. I don't want to think about it because it makes me feel old, but probably 20 years ago, I got the first ideas on paper, and I wrote about half the book, and then just got distracted by life and put it on the back burner for a long, long time, and then came back to it one year. I had COVID, and I was sitting around bored, and thought, you know what? If I'm going to do it, when am I going to do it? If I don't sit and do it now, when am I going to do it? So, but before writing that, I thought, let's get a bit of practice. So I wrote a novella, which is called Hand's Last Stand. I don't have it to hand, but that's a short, little, quick read. It's like a Western fantasy sort of vibe. And then Path of Blade, which is more like it's medieval fantasy, but I wanted to it's got a bit of a vibe of like a samurai tale as well, like honor, betrayal, and all that kind of intrigue. Before I got onto writing Demon's Tear, and I started that again from scratch because I've been everything. I've been everything that I've written. I started from scratch, and I started that in June last year and published it in June this year. So it's been out like 2 months now, and I'm well into writing the sequel. So that is forthcoming from me in the next 6 months, maybe.
Ooh, it's start of the year at least. Anyway, hopefully the start of next
I
year.
think Easter could be achievable, but then I thought Demons 2 would be out on Easter, and it was late till June, so we'll see.
Yeah.
It might be the other thing about book 2. It might be a lot longer than book 1. I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
Brilliant. I think the main thing that I've come out of these indie author roundtables are, please keep writing, because we all want to read what you're writing. So just keep writing, okay? Keep releasing those books.
With a few exceptions, we're all doing it because we like it, right?
Yeah,
we're doing it because we love doing it. We're not doing it for the money.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's come through also. That's been coming through loud and clear, trust me. I think one of the main questions that I would maybe like to put to you guys just to start off with is the positives and the negatives of being indie self-pubbed sort of authors at this time, just with everything, at the moment, what would be the positives and the negatives, and is the long-term goal for you, any of you guys, to be traditionally published, or are you very happy just to stay within the realms of indie self-pub?
Do I go first on that? So
my
dream I always want to be an author. It's something I've thought about for a long time. And I always thought you wrote a book and then you got published in a traditional publishing sort of way. And the more I've learned about the publishing industry, the less likely that is. Even if you do get an agent and then do get a traditional publishing deal, actually then to go on and see your book in print is rare. And then for your book to be enough of a seller that you can go, I am now an author. I'm not other stuff that I might have to do to earn money. I know, I mean, it's vanishingly small number of people. Yeah. So I've had a bit of a reality check over the last 2 years, probably. That not many people who get trad pub deals have this right, well, now I can just write my books in complete freedom and comfort. It just doesn't happen. So that dream is sort of been put to one side. And the advantages, and I think everyone will agree with this, the advantages of being an indie author are I can do exactly what I want, right? Yeah. I can write the book I want to write. I don't care. When I read Demons 2, I didn't think about what the market was, the saleability, whether the cover was going to sell, whether it was going to be good on bookshelves. Because it's not going to be on bookshelves, really. It's going to be online for people who found me online to go and buy. That's where people are going to find it. I can do what I want in that space. So I can tell the story the way I want. I don't have to worry about fitting into a particular genre, being saleable, being marketable. I don't worry about my face being marketable, which is a pretty big positive for me.
Don't.
And, I can write it in my own schedule. I got on straight away and started writing book 2. There's no pressure for me to do it. I just want to. I could stop. I could have a 6-month break if I got jaded. There's no pressure on me to do it. And the books are out. You can go to Amazon.com or Amazon.co.uk or Amazon.eu or whatever and buy my books now, which if I was to trad pubs, even if it all gone well, would be way, way, way down the line. So I'd still be waiting to see my book in print if I was pursuing a trad pub deal, even if it all went really well. So that, for me, that's the big advantage of being an indie author, is I can get my books out there and people can and do read them. Like people are reading them today. I've been seeing the Kindle Unlimited numbers going up, but people are reading them right now, which is amazing. Can't beat that.
Yeah. Did you just on that? Did you find that the indie book sale helped, or any of those book sales that happened last weekend? Did any of those help with sales? Or
I was in the Nurture sale, so I didn't see it was up for. I think the ebook was on for 99p. And I saw a load of people put them on their purchase list and to be read list, which is great. Yeah. So definitely helped. In terms of getting the cover to people's awareness and maybe people making that decision, okay, now I'll go and buy it. Or maybe before it wasn't. I guess at 99p it's a low risk purchase. So yes, would not do them all the time because it's a lot of work. It's a year's work for 99p. It feels a robbery, but you do what you can.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, Gord or Dave?
I'll go second, I guess. So I have been writing for a long time. I think I might have already said that, but I went to graduate school in fiction writing from 2007 to 2009. And I was going to be a writer and a writing professor and all of this kind of stuff. And then I just sort of stopped. And I started teaching. I teach English and theater at a high school, and I'm a theater director. And I'm pretty busy, but I've been trying to write more the last like 2 years, and I've gotten back into it, and I'm really enjoying it. In terms of Trad Pub, like, I suppose if they contacted me and were like, hey, we want to release your books, please, I'd consider it, but I have no interest in doing the whole querying, submitting things for publication, waiting to see if they're interested. I'm turning 40 here in less than a year, and I don't want to spend years doing that. So for me, I enjoy the nature of self-pub, with like being able to write your books, be involved in a lot of the process, and then send it out to people and have a little bit more of a personal connection maybe with some of the readers. And also, I think the best thing about indie publishing for me so far has been the community of all of the other indie authors and people like that I've met. The indie fantasy and sci-fi community have so many cool people. And I've only really been a part of it since like February or March. And I feel like I have met a lot of people, made a lot of connections, and just met a lot of friends this way. And for me, that's worth more than having a traditional publishing deal.
No, fair enough. Totally get that. Yeah. Gord, what about you then?
Yeah, when I finished my first book, I didn't really know much about indie publishing. I thought, okay, well, for everything I've read, you're supposed to get an agent. So yeah, I sent out the dozen query letters and waited and got a dozen rejections. And then I think I had someone look and say, well, is it my query letter? So I revised it, tried again, got a bunch of rejections. And by the time I got through that second round, I just completely decided this is not for me. I feel like, no, I just want to be my own boss. I want to do this myself. I don't want to be dependent on some agent to like me. And then I wait, like maybe a year to get an agent, and maybe a year or more to try and get some publisher interested, and then more years of getting, no, I was like, I can get this done in like 3 months if I really want to. Right. So yeah, for me, I love the freedom of it. The fact that I'm not under anybody else's schedule. Nobody's telling me what to do. There's an authenticity to indie novels, I think, that you don't find anywhere else. I mean, you're writing. I actually made a little TikTok video about this, about why I think indie books are cool for exactly the same reasons that indie films and indie music is cool. And it's because you're writing for yourself, for what you think is good, not for what some corporation thinks is good or what's going to sell, right? So why wouldn't I do this? Now, on the downside, I kind of work better under pressure. So when I have a deadline, I tend to work harder. So I'm going to have to try to probably do a little better at some self-imposed deadlines, because I'm already kind of a year late in this second novel here. But regardless, I still really like being my own boss, doing my own thing on my own time. It's wonderful. Yeah. The downside, I guess, is I'm really bad at marketing. But then again, from what I've heard in the traditional publishing industry, they kind of expect you to do your own marketing anyway. So I don't really see a downside here.
Yeah, I think I touched on it last week. I work with 3 publishing companies where I read and review books for them on behalf of them, just voluntarily. Just I read them and review them on my social media platforms. And I think the differences between Trad Pub for me as a reviewer and indie is that I would never be able to sit and have a conversation with 3 other authors on my channel as a live show. It just would never happen. Like, literally would never happen. I would never have the opportunity to speak to an author of a book that I've read for a Trad Pub publisher, whatever. And also, I think it's like indie films, as you say, Gord. You literally, there's no line you can cross. You can write anything you want. And I think that some of the books that I've read recently, I've only started really getting into the indie sort of self-pub side of things. I'm dipping my toe in very, very slowly. But there are some real hidden gems out there that are absolutely amazing. There's some amazing books out there. And I think that's why so many people want to try and bring visibility more to indie and self-pub authors, because there are so many amazing books that are just not being seen or heard or read. Do you understand what I mean? So I definitely think for me, doing both, seeing both sides, there definitely are differences between trad and indie. But like, you know, both are as good. You know, don't get me wrong. You know, I enjoy reading traditionally published novels, but I think that as you guys said, there's a lot more maybe rules on what you can write probably with traditionally published agents and things. Where you guys you write whatever you want because you know that it's good and you know that that's what you want to write, and it is very it's fascinating, to be fair. So yeah, I totally agree
I
with
mean,
you.
you hear some horror stories sometimes, right?
Oh, sorry, God.
I was going to say, you hear some horror stories sometimes from people doing the querying, and they find an agent, and then the publisher says, well, we like it, but can you change this incredibly important thing about it? Can you
Why
change
would you
this
do
entire
that?
plot?
Yeah.
Get rid of
Why
this
would you
character, or
want to do
change
that?
their sex or something? Like,
Yeah.
that's just craziness to me, you know? But
Yeah.
no, that's not art anymore. I don't know what that is.
Mhm.
And the picking up a trad pub book is no guarantee you'll find better writing, because I
Yeah.
picked up some indie pub books and I was like, wow, this is as good as anything I've read out of a publisher. It might not be so polished, and it's probably more unique, and it's probably not as saleable. But recent example, I don't know if you've read A Pocket of Lies by our friend Rach, R.A. Sandpiper.
Yep.
That is as well written as any trad pub book. It's the
Mhm.
prose is smooth and readable and accessible. It just doesn't have that, I don't know, saleability thing that I think an Asian or a trad pub house would pick up.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's what you get with an indie book. It'll be have great characters, really good story, and it'll be well written.
It'll be authentic for sure.
Yeah, and authentic. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Absolute hidden gems. There's so many hidden gems out there. It's ridiculous. Like seriously, there's so many good books out there. So just there's quite a few actually on this evening. They seem to be growing every week. Annette's here every single week for me. We love Annette. Hi Annette. she always does the most for me. God help her. Bella's here.
Bella is one of the secret scribes. So hi Bella.
Right. Oh, just on that then, Dave, can we just quickly talk about the secret scribes? Just
Sure.
quickly, just a quick
Right.
rundown of what it is, because this is my first time hearing, so go ahead.
The brief history of the secret scribes. So for those of you who out there have heard of the break-ins, they're kind of a big deal. They have a lot of great authors, and they're pretty well known in the indie fantasy community. And I think one of them, Josh Walker, had posted on Twitter talking about how he thought that everyone should find their own little smaller community of writers within the thing. And I said, that is a fantastic idea. So I posted on Twitter and said, hey, who wants to join a little fantasy author collective? And Rob, who is on here over there, and Sean O'Boyle had just been talking about it, and they contacted me. And then we brought in Bella, who's on here, E.H. Bradley Eamon, who's on here, Alex, who's on here, DJ Terrell, Bill Adams, R.A. Sandpiper, Lorraine L.M. Douglas, who I believe might be on your show next week.
Next week,
And we're basically like a collective of writers. There's a few other people on there as well, but my brain is not working now. And we have a chat. We talk through things. We support each other, help each other out. We're basically a writing group that also helps each other with visibility, and we've become good friends. Lamia, she's the best. Her book's coming out soon. So I recommend anyone, if you're a writer out there, start a writing group with some other people. It is awesome. It is fun. You will love it.
It's really motivating to see people making progress with the stories. So obviously we're all writing at the moment, writing, like editing, publishing, and everyone's at different stages, and it's really motivating to see people making progress. And also everyone, when we have downtimes, because we do, we're like, oh, why am I doing this? What's the point? There's someone there to go, yeah, I know exactly how you feel. I felt like this last week. Keep at it, man. Your books are good. And the other thing is, it's an instant reading list, because I want to read all of their books, and I'm gradually working through them. So I read Sean's book, which is excellent and really good, like comedy fantasy in the vein of Terry Pratchett. If you haven't read it, I think everyone really should. It's a really fun little book. Rachel's book I thought was excellent. Can't wait for the sequel. I'm just about to pick up Blood Woven by J.G. Terrell, which has really intrigued me. I think that looks great. The other thing the Secret Scribes is, of course, is his therapy. You know, we're quite broken by life and the world, and trying to market books. So having a little bit of a circle chat is sometimes just what you need.
There's quite a bit of Lamia LN buy-in, basically like talking us down off of ledges.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good. It's nice to have somewhere just to talk to people who are like-minded and are in the same position as you, I suppose, where you can bounce ideas off people maybe too, that kind of thing.
It's a really good place as well for us to put things that we probably shouldn't put on Twitter.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yes, I know that one. Yes, I've seen that. Yeah, I've definitely seen that. Very good. Just a shameless plug there. For Sean.
No, Steve asked in the chat, was that ballad as Prick at the Bard? Yes, it was.
Oh, I haven't got down to that. So there's loads of comments. I can't believe how many people here. It's like scaring me a wee bit. So that's cool. So cool to know. And I love the name. Secret Scribes is pretty cool. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so Alan has read Fractured. It's great then. Timothy's here. Timothy was on a couple of weeks ago. He's a lovely guy. Lovely guy. Really nice to chat to him. I've got envoys on my September TBR. Brilliant. Hello everyone. There we go. Hi. Hi everyone. Dave is all anxiety in our chat apparently. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, so let me see. Heidi. There's loads of people here who know each other, which is great. Hi Dave.
Annette asked a really good question. Annette asked a really good question. Was it Annette?
Yes, I'm just getting down to there. Yes, this one at the top here, financial perspective, no?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question.
Yeah. So I'll just ask that one, guys, then now. From a financial perspective, is it better for you as authors to have pages read on Kindle Unlimited or have people buy the ebook?
I said it's a good question, but now I've realised I don't know the answer. I think off the top of my head, depending on the book, I think it's about even an ebook to KU.
Okay.
Maybe slightly better for ebook. But like I said, we're not in it for the money. I don't really mind. I just want people to read it. I often, if I'm looking at my Kindle dashboard and I see someone's bought a paperback, that's when I get excited. Ooh, paperback. The idea of a physical copy of what I've written going out to someone in the post. But I make nothing on a paperback because the printing costs are so high. But it gives me a thrill, really proper thrill to see someone bought a paperback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no answer to this one. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. I mean, Kindle Unlimited might be better, but I just refuse to be on it because they have that exclusivity deal. And that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I tend to be annoyingly stubborn and principled about things. And I just said, no, I'm not doing that. I want to put it wherever I want to put it. So I just won't go on Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, you have to buy it if you want it, unfortunately.
Okay. No, that's fine. No, that's good. And just coming off that, it was a question I asked last week as well. For you guys, in terms of content creators, reviewers, ARC reviewers, whatever, what's the best way? What's the best thing that we can do for you guys in turn for getting the visibility out there? Is it buying the books? Is it reading the books? Is it reviewing the books? Is it the amount of reviews? What's the best thing we can do?
Reviews.
Yeah.
100% reviews.
Okay.
Like everyone, when they're going to buy a book, when they're going to buy anything, they might buy a vacuum cleaner, I look at the reviews. When people buy books, reviews and number of reviews are crucial. Like getting those numbers of reviews up is really what I'm about. Sales will come later. But if you get beyond a certain point in reviews, it'll start to kick in for itself because the weight of numbers who've liked it will suggest that other people will like it.
Yeah.
If you've got a book with 3 reviews, if you've got a book with 50, reviews are absolutely what makes us tick as indie authors.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd also say though, even just mentioning it on your social media, like if you're on Instagram or like Bookstagram or something, I mean, gosh, just having anybody mention that, hey, I read this book and it was really good, I enjoyed it, that's huge, right? I mean, I don't know how to get the word out there. I'm not really good at marketing myself and tooting my own horn. So yeah, just to have anybody mention it, even in passing, is wonderful for me.
I also think to a certain extent, it's a much more powerful message for someone else to go, hey, I liked this book.
Yeah.
Than if I go, I like my book, please buy it.
Yeah.
I'm really uncomfortable doing it for my own stuff, right? So
yeah, no one wants to listen to someone going, no, I'm great. But if someone says, I picked up this book and I think it's good, that's a much more powerful message than self-publicity. Self-publicity, I think you can only go so far with.
However, if you do a car selfie, that is peak marketing.
Oh, well, I mean, who do we know that does car selfies? That was brilliant, Dave. I love that. Listen, is NJ getting married today?
You got married yesterday.
Oh, yesterday? Oh,
Mhm.
lovely. Oh, that's so nice. He was on the first author roundtable. He's such a nice guy. Such a nice guy. Really, really nice. Oh, that's good. I'm
That's
looking
awesome.
forward to the photos then. Maybe another car selfie at some stage.
There already was one, actually. If you look,
Oh,
he
was
has
there?
a car
Haven't been
selfie
on?
with his entire like bridal party riding in the limo to the
Seriously?
wedding, and they all
Oh
have a
my
copy of
goodness.
the book. It was
Of
pretty
course.
awesome.
Of course. That's cool. I need to have a look then. Okay. So let me see. What is the biggest challenge in being an author? Maybe we've already covered that, have we? Maybe just would you say?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, I'd say that would be massive actually, because you're doing it yourself. You're relying on yourself, really, aren't you? You know, you're sort of
Is everybody aware what imposter syndrome is? I know people in the chat who haven't done creative type things will be aware of what imposter syndrome is. Mind you, I get it at work, so I get it.
Where the voices come in and say that you're not good enough and
Not
that
good
you're
enough.
what
You're not a
writing
real
isn't good
author.
enough,
You're not a
and
real
you're-
writer.
yeah.
You're just you're
Who you kidding
pretending
with this?
you're actually terrible at this.
Why are you doing this? You're
Someone
not
is
doing
going to
this.
find you out soon
Yeah.
and give you a 1-star review and say this person should give up. They should burn everything they've got. They should throw their laptop out the window and go and live in a hole. That's
Well,
imposter
I mean, that's taking it a bit far, but okay.
syndrome. That's me. I take things too far.
I like that. I like that.
Rob is often the one on the ledge that Lamia has to talk.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
I'm a bit swingy when it comes to writing. I love writing. I really get excited by
Yeah.
actually the act of writing, but then marketing and trying to get the message of my book out, I find it a real grind.
And just on that, then, do you guys, obviously your books are your babies. You've written them because you've the passion to write them. You love the story. You've written the story, whatever. Do you still have those thoughts where sometimes you're like, maybe this isn't good enough, or are you totally wholeheartedly behind what you're writing and behind knowing that you're confident that this is a good book? No, okay.
Oh, I'm terrified that people are going to hate my second book.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it took me 17 years to write the first one, because I just didn't take myself seriously enough to actually put in the effort. It was just a little bit here, a little bit there. But once I actually took, said, okay, I had some time off and I'm going to take a few months and finish it off, people, they actually liked it. They said it was a page turner. They said, I read this in one sitting. It was great. I mean, that's wonderful stuff to hear, right? And it makes me feel like, okay, well, maybe, I don't think I'm the greatest author in the world, but maybe I'm not so awful if people liked it, right? So, but even so, I wrote a sequel. What if it's the dreaded second in a series that just kind of never really lives up to expectations, right? So I don't know. I have a feeling I'll be dealing with imposter syndrome for quite a while. I don't know. My own worst critic, maybe.
We all are. Absolutely, we all are. Yeah, you see the mistakes, you see the things. I should have done that differently.
Yeah.
Where other people just read the book and they like the story, and they make it a lot more simple. Other readers are like, "Oh, this is good," but I'm in agony.
For me, I think I went to school for creative writing. I was in so many workshops, and everyone in those workshops just ripped apart everything you wrote, and I grew this really thick skin.
Oh dear.
And then over the past 12 years of not doing anything with that, that thick skin has dissipated. And also I really like what I'm writing now. And I love my book and I love my characters and I'm really excited about it. And I'm incredibly so anxious. I sent this book out. What if everyone hates it? And I think 12 years ago, I would have been like, who cares if they hate it? I'm going to keep writing anyway. And now I'm like, oh God, what if they hate it? What if they hate it? What if they hate it? So yeah, the imposter syndrome does not go away.
It's real. Yeah.
Dave's getting messages every day saying, I really love this book, 5-star review. I really love this book, 5-star. And he's still like, but what if other people don't like it? No, everyone who's read it is loving it, Dave. At some point, you'll accept that.
Dave, you need to be protected at all costs, don't you? We have a Steve here. We all know Steve, don't we?
Steve Westwood,
Yeah?
Yep,
Yeah, definitely.
Steve just wrote in the chat basically saying what I'd said about the difficulties getting into travel.
Oh, really?
And also, you don't necessarily find the best written books. Sometimes you find stuff that's really original. I mean, I
Yeah.
can see why agents and publishing houses will go, wow, this is new. We've not seen this before. But doesn't mean it's necessarily what a reader will enjoy most, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think just coming off that, Rob, too, a lot of traditionally published sort of writing, so thrillers, horrors, fantasy, a lot of it's been done before. You're reading the same sort of tropes, you're reading the same sort of stories, you're reading the same sort of things, just sort of turned on their head a little bit, but it's the same story, if that makes sense, or the same storyline. Where I've noticed with any of the indie books that I've read so far, as I say, I'm only dipping my toe in, so I haven't read loads, but that doesn't seem to happen because there's so many, because you're just maybe more free to write whatever you want to write. It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel as if, oh, I've read this before, I don't want to read this book. You know, every book that I've read so far, I've really, really been interested in it because it's something different. It's written in a different way, you know. So I definitely agree with that, 100%. Yeah.
I think big publishers are probably like big movie studios. They don't want to take risks. So the most interesting things you find are, you know, the indie stories, right? Because they don't fit into any particular mold, and that's a good thing, right? Yeah. So as a reader, I wouldn't want to. That's what I would want to read, something new and different.
Yeah, but I mean, me and my partner, we're massively into the cinema and films and things, and A24 is an indie sort of film production company, and the different, now not everyone are hits, not every film is a hit, there's a lot of misses, but some of the films are unreal because they are indie and they can go that wee bit further and they can, you know, explore a bit more. So it definitely is. Yeah. So let me see. Annette says she's been reading more and more indie books over the last year or so, and I'm blown away by how many excellent books there are out there. So that's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same for me. I don't know, you might be the same, you two guys, but having joined the indie book community, I'm now having my eyes open to the indie book community and the authors that are there, and some of the massive success stories like Ryan Cale, obviously huge success for an indie fantasy author. I mean, he's like, we want to be that guy. But just the breadth of different types of stories, different types of fantasy, different types of sci-fi. Yeah, I will never read all the books I want to read. I don't know how I'm going to cope.
It's a lovely problem to have, though, isn't it? Yeah. Alex says, me too. Continually impressed with the quality of the stories and the writing. So, I mean, what more do you need to hear there? Secret Scribes. We've got a big fan club going on in here. Nadim's asking how many words are required to write a full fantasy novel. 50k, 70k, 90k? What sort of numbers are you looking at? Do you guys know?
I think 90k is normal, isn't it?
This is something else that comes across from the trad publishing scene, is in that they will say this is the word count for a book. You've got to write to that word count. Well, I see people on Twitter going, "I'm querying, I've written 130k, I need to knock 20k off." And I'm like, in my indie author go, why? Add 20k more, make it bigger. But yeah, that like 90 to 110k, I think, is what the trad publishing scene wants for a fantasy book. Of course, notwithstanding George R. R. Martin and 250k books, but for like a debut kind of book. But obviously, in indie scene, there's no limits like that. You can put as many words as you like. So I will give you two examples. So Path of Blades, first novel, 70k.
Yeah.
Demon Series, twice that length.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're both full length novels. They just one happens to be a little bit bigger than the other.
I will see a lot of people asking, like, I have a fantasy novel that's 68k. I need to add 30k to make it a novel. And like, I mean, you can publish it at 68k if it's complete and it's a good story. There's nothing that says anywhere that there is a word limit or a word amount that you must have to have a novel be complete. There are some amazing novels that are 215 pages. Doesn't have to be a 400 to 600 page novel to fully tell a story.
So. Yeah. Fair enough. Steve's asking, was that the Ballad of Spricket the Bard? One of my favorite SBFBOX openings. There you go. Yeah, it was indeed.
Yeah, one to
it. Generally prefer to buy anyway, but just wondered which was best for you guys. So Annette sort of likes to buy them physically, which I do also. I love Kindle Unlimited, but I love to be able to buy them as well. For me, if they read the whole book on KU, it is about even with buying an ebook. Alex says, okay, fair enough. Let me see. I feel like trad and attitudes around it in that ecosystem really contribute to self-pub authors' imposter syndrome. Steve says, would you guys agree with that too? Yeah.
I think probably the way that some publishing houses want something in a particular format or a particular word count that goes to a particular predictable story cycle make us feel, if we're not doing that, we're doing it wrong. But then, like other people have said, that's why in TradPub you're more likely to get more generically structured books, whereas the indie scene, that's all goes out the window and people write in any way they want. But I think that's a good point, is that you, as an indie author, you're looking across the fence going, well, if they're doing it that way, they have all the success. Am I doing it wrong? Am I the one who's not getting it right? Should I go back to the drawing board? It's that's one of the hardest things. Sometimes I ask, what about being an author? Is it's all on you. You make every decision, and you're constantly questioning: is this the right way of doing it? Is this the right way of doing it? Should I do this way? Should I do it that way? And in the end, you can ask questions of people you know, but really you're the decision maker.
Yeah.
Philip Pullman said it. One of his quotes is, "Writing is a tyranny." You can ask people for their opinion, but in the end, you make the decision. You decide whether that character lives or dies. You decide what they say, and it's all on you, which is one of the best things about being an author, and also one of the hardest things, because you're constantly making decisions.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see where we are. I'm just going down here. Gord, you do a masterful job depicting the roller coaster of emotions your main character experiences. Do you and the other authors feel those emotions as you write them? That's a great question. Yeah.
I do, because I'm a pantser. Like, as I write it, I'm experiencing it for the first time. I have no idea what's going to happen until I write it. So
it's interesting.
For me, when my character is experiencing emotions, or I don't know, trying to logic their way through a problem and figure out what's going on, that's me. That's me doing it. I don't know where the story's going. So it's exactly the same thing. So yes for me, because I'm a pantser.
Okay.
I also am a bit of a pantser. I do an outline, and then as I'm writing, I'm like, this is happening. This is completely not what happened in the outline, and I write 20,000 words on that, and then let's redo the outline, and then I continue like, nope, it's changing again. So at some point, I just kind of put the outline aside as, you were great while you lasted, but you don't exist anymore.
So that a plantser, I guess.
Yes.
Let it, just toss it out the window if you need to. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I fall somewhere in between. Is that I call myself a pantser, and I have like a flow chart. This is where the story's going to go, and then within that structure, I'll just make it up as I go along. I'll be writing a chapter and go, actually, chapter ends there. Let's start from somewhere else, and that won't be in the plan. That'll just be at that moment. I decide that's where that character gets to. Let's go to another character. But funny, I've had emotional moments writing both things I've planned really, really carefully. Like, I'm building up to this scene, and when I get there, I'm like, wow. And also stuff like Gord says, it's on spur of the moment, and it's just, it'll hit you by surprise.
Okay.
I don't know if I really have emotional reactions, but I definitely make myself laugh a lot, which either means I'm funny or easily amused. But I do make myself laugh a lot.
I can tell, Dave. I can tell you're a funny guy. You're just always smiling. Right, let's see. Just starting to get into the indie book community this year, and it's great. There's so much creativity on this side of publishing, lots of passion. Can I just ask on that, how do you keep the passion for writing? How do you keep plugging on and plugging on and plugging on, even with the imposter syndrome, or even if you just think, no, this isn't going well? How do you do it? How do you? Yes, you may speak to the other guys in different communities and what have you, but how do you keep the passion that you have for writing alive, would I say?
I'll go first on this one. First of all, like, I enjoy doing it, and so that I want to do it anyway, and so I'm able to keep the passion to some extent that way. But then people like the person who left this comment, Audrey Hopper, who was one of my beta readers and is like working to become a developmental editor. She is amazing, but she just has given me so much like feedback, and like the story, she's loved it as well, and like talks through things with me as we go. And like having people like that around you that maybe are not other writers as well, but sort of like friends, supporters, people that I know outside of writing that have read the book and like the characters and are talking to me about them, and like just giving me people who I can talk to about it and that are also passionate about it too helps me. And I don't know, some people can probably stay passionate about it themselves, but I definitely need a little bit of that outside support.
Okay.
For me, it's hard because during the writing phase, that's when I'm really passionate. That's when, I can just take a weekend and just write all day, all night, and just, I'm in the zone and I love it. And then once it's done, I hate it. I hate editing. I hate formatting. I hate marketing. I just like the actual writing part, right? So trying to keep that passion up through that whole second phase of editing, it's really hard. I mean, having some people that you trust read it and give you valuable feedback, that makes it easier for sure, because then I can look at it objectively and say, oh, okay, I see what you're saying here. Yeah, I have a great new idea. I can add this new scene. I can change this little thing about this character. You're right, that didn't make sense. But without it, I'm never going to do that. I can't read it again myself objectively and just have a lot of great ideas on how to fix it. I don't know, maybe if I left it alone for 6 months, but yeah, it's hard for me. The passion part is the original writing part for sure.
I absolutely know what you mean. Like when it's like when the iron's hot, that's when you're looking at it. As soon as it gets cold, like, it's done.
Yeah.
So sometimes even people point out mistakes in something I publish. Like, don't care. It's gone. It's in the past. Live with it. It's one of the challenging things, especially as independents, where I don't know, with a few exceptions, we're not doing it as a job. We don't have to do it. We don't have time in our lives to do it. We have to make the time. For me, I'm just desperate to tell the story. I've got this grand saga that's been in my mind for 20 years. Me and a friend sort of worked up the ideas together, and I'm just desperate to get it out, and see how the characters develop and see how the twists that I've planned are realised in the end, and get to those cool scenes that are 4 books ahead that I've been planning for years. That's what keeps me going. So, and like Gordon and like Dave said, I've got a few trusted readers. One just joined the charity, my friend Claire Sutton. She does a lot of initial reading. I'll send her my very first drafts and go, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Is that making sense for that character? So I've got a lot of female characters in my book as well. So getting a woman's input on, is this a realistic, believable way for 2 women to relate to each other? And sometimes she'll say, yeah, this is great. And sometimes she goes, no, they wouldn't say that. But for her to be into it, like that's a really instant feedback that does keep me going, definitely.
Brilliant. And on that, Claire has just come in. Thanks, Claire, for joining us. She's just asking about influences and inspiration. Hey, where do your stories come from? Where do the ideas? I just recently got a tattoo, and the guy who did my tattoos an indie author, and he said he was just walking his child after his newborn around the block because he couldn't get her settled, and came up with this concept of a story and decided to sit down and write it. And that was how easy it was. It just literally came to him. Would you say the same, guys, or have you, as you say, Rob, you've been, obviously planning this for a long time,
Yeah, the inspiration for the specific story, that's probably more thought out, but the inspiration for specific details, specific character quirks, I mean, they can come from anywhere. I was telling the guys from Secret Scribes this. So I was watching the TV, and there was a shot of a puddle with a drop of water dripping into it. And from that, my stupid brain went, wouldn't it be cool if something came out of that puddle and was like undead and killed everyone? And then it went on again. I was like, hang on. I invented a myth in my world where there's undead people who get thrown in ponds as a method of deposition of the corpses. Wouldn't that be cool? Now that's going to be a scene in the book.
Yeah.
Like something completely random just triggers. But the essence of what I'm writing is I wanted to write an epic fantasy series. I mean, Wheel of Time is probably my main influence in terms of what's good and what's not good. Because a lot of that if I was the editor of that series, it would be hot. I'd be so much of it.
Big series, yeah.
I wanted to write a series with a lot drawn from that, but where the characters are in control of their destiny. So they're not guided by prophecies. They're not chosen ones. They're not
Nice.
princes and kings. They're normal people who end up changing the course of the world almost by accident. They end up they make decisions to try and keep themselves alive, to try and help their friends, and it snowballs rather than I'm the Dragon Reborn as an example. I have to do this. Or the world because I got a bit tired of that. I feel it's been done. Let's have people making decisions, and then they've got to live with the consequences. They may make bad decisions. They make decisions out of ignorance. They make decisions out of fear, like normal people. That's what I really wanted to write, and that's hopefully what I am writing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say for me, with the novel, the inspiration came from a D&D group that I am in. Mm-hmm. And the D&D campaign we ran, and I guess we're still running it, kind of homebrew afterwards, of my character and another one of the people's characters were maybe the influence for the basic characters that became the two main characters of my novel. But it started out as a 5-page short story about one of the other people's character that was just sort of a goofy little short story that I wrote. And then I didn't do anything with it for a while. And I thought, that was fun, but I could completely change it and make it not about that character, not set in that world, anything like that, and move forward with it from there. And so I took that little 5-page story, reworked things, and started writing. And within 2 months, I had a 91,000 word first draft. And then I spent several months working on it, writing more, etc. But I think one of the coolest things that has happened was when my D&D group, so Audrey, who's in the chat, is in my D&D group, and she'd read the book by this point, and she had her character in D&D do a scheme just like what one of my characters does. Overcomplicated, crazy scheme. And she had her character do that scheme, and somehow it worked. It was like, see, it could work.
That must have been really cool.
It was just an awesome moment, and I think that's my favorite thing that's happened so far with the whole writing a novel process.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Brilliant.
So for me, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a science fiction author when I grew up. And in my early 20s, I thought, okay, I'm going to take this seriously. And I bought a bunch of novels about how to write a novel, not novels, books, about how to structure and write a novel, how to do the plotting. And I had ideas for, alien invasion novel or something. And I did everything they said and the character outlines and tried to plot things out. And all that happened is that it sucked the joy out of it so much that I just dropped it and I never did anything. And I felt like a failure. And then my kids, my youngest daughter at the time, she was just a super avid reader from a young age. And she'd gone through all the Harry Potter books and all kinds of other books. And they all had to, they all had like a male lead, I guess, at the time. It's not really like that anymore, but back then it was more like that, I think. And so I thought, okay, fine, I'll try this again. I'll write a book for my daughters that they'll like, full of all the cool stuff they like powers and things, right? And but I still didn't know what to do. And that's when I'd read something from Stephen King, his book about I think it's called Just Right, or On Writing, maybe it's called. Yeah. And I just tried that, I said, I don't know what this is going to be about, but I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to start writing, and it'll be something that my kids will like and that I will like. And, it just evolved from there, right? I thought, okay, well, how about if it's a teenage girl that can relate to that person, and she'll wake up and she won't have any memories, but she'll discover she has powers. That sounds like it has a lot of potential, right? And then it just goes from there, right? I mean, it snowballs from there. One thing leads to another. You're like, oh, this would be cool. This would be cool. Kind of pulled in a lot of things that I'd liked from my childhood. Like I remember I was a big fan of the movie Highlander, where people were having sword fights in New York City and things like that. And so, okay, everyone has katanas now. And there's but I still made sure there was a good reason for everything. Like there has to be a good reason to be having a sword fights in this day and age, right, in the city. But the inspiration was more just, okay, I wanted something cool that my daughters will like at this time, but I didn't really have a really well thought out plan. It just evolved, as cool things occurred to me, I'd write it down. So yeah, that's how it was a very organic process for me.
Brilliant. So interesting. Audrey has asked, do you guys quilt your stories or write chapter 1 to end? That's cool.
I usually write from chapter 1 to the end, but there will be parts where I'm like, I know I need to write this part here, but it seems hard. So I'm going to write, the characters do this, and this happens, and they talk. And then I move to the next scene and write the scene that seems less hard. And then I'll go back and write that scene. But in general, I do write in a linear fashion from beginning to end.
Okay.
Same. Yeah, for 99% of the time, that's how I will do it as well. I think there's been the rare occasion when I kind of felt a little stuck and literally couldn't write anything. I didn't know what to say. So I said, well, I have this idea for a fight scene. I'll just start writing that fight scene and then, go back and, okay, that somehow got the juices flowing and then I could go back. But for the most part, no, I'm from beginning to end because I don't plot anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm the same. Even when I do plan things, I would find it very difficult to go through my outline and write a chapter in isolation somewhere in the future of the book, because mostly what's happening in the chapter will refer back in some way to stuff that's already happened. And I think it's hard to do that if you quilt your stories, as that question is stated so beautifully. So yeah, I write beginning to end because if I want a theme to go through the book, I want it to be there all the way through. And I suppose you could add it when you're editing, but I mean it's easier and feels more natural to do it in book order, if you like. I mean, that there was writing the book I'm currently writing is the sequel to Demon's Tear, and I realised I got partway through and I realised the chapter I drafted didn't ring true. Like the character relationships weren't right, and I just felt I couldn't progress because I didn't understand the character relationship well enough, because I knew I needed to rewrite it until I'd gone and rewrote it. So I went back and rewrote it. Then I could go on. So yeah, I don't think I could write in a quilted kind of way.
Okay. Yeah.
I have gone back after the fact, though, and written a scene and inserted it into there, and it's dangerous because sometimes you forget that, okay, I just made a change here, and now I got to go back everywhere and make sure that it makes sense, that I didn't just ruin something. So yeah, it's
like pulling a thread
in order.
You don't know what's on the other end, and you pull it too hard, and the whole jumper unravels. Yeah, I had that right in Bath the Blades. I got to the end because I hadn't planned it properly, and I realized I'd written a plot hole, and I was like, oh no! So I had to go back all the way through, add a whole new character, and then go back again all the way through, making sure that it all made sense, and I hadn't accidentally got the wrong person talking to somebody who didn't exist. But yeah,
and it's hard because I don't have the patience to read my own writing. It's once I've written it, I've lost all interest. I don't want to reread it again, but you have to read it very carefully to make sure that you haven't made a mistake if you ever change anything in editing, right? So
I do feel the same, and going through it, particularly on a screen, I found I'll just skim it. I know what this says. Yeah. Skim it. So what I did when I was getting ready to release Demon's Tear, I got a proof. So I got a paperback proof. I read it cover to cover like a reader, and I found this is the way to do it, because now I'm not reading it as something I've created on the Word. I'm reading it like a book.
Yeah, proper. Yeah,
I'll read chapter and I'll digest it in one go, and all sorts of things jumped out on me about character relationships and motivations that I hadn't been seeing off the Word document. It was in my mind, but I hadn't put it in the book. So I found that as a final stage edit really useful.
Yeah,
I read both proof copy, Kindle copy, and Word copy, all three of those different ones. And I will say that I am just easily amused, as I said before, but like as I read it the last time before I sent out the arcs, I was like, I'm still enjoying reading this story. So that's either a good thing or it says something about me. I don't know. It's just so fun to like, whenever I was writing short stories and like literary fiction back in 2007 to 2011, I don't even know if you could make a Kindle version. I can't remember if Kindles even existed then. So like the idea of you print it off on paper and read it. And now it's like, I wrote this thing, and there's all of these different programs that you can put it, and you can put it on your Kindle, even if it's just a draft, and read your draft on your Kindle. And it feels so much realer, and like, this is a real book, even if it's a first draft, and like, I've still got a lot of work to do on it, but I can read it on my Kindle, and it looks like a book. And there's just something so cool about that. Yay, technology sometimes.
What I did to force myself to read it word by word instead of just skimming it and missing things is I had Microsoft Word read it aloud to me. That's what worked. Caught lots of problems, like lots of little missing. Like one of the hardest things I find is to find a missing word. It's impossible when you're skimming it. Even if you're reading it, it just your brain inserts those missing words. But if it's said out loud to you, it's really noticeable, right? So that helped a lot. But it also just helped me because I didn't have the patience to do it otherwise, right? So it worked.
I will try that. Yeah.
All right, so we're coming. I can't believe we've been talking for nearly an hour now. So I want to ask you guys, I'm going to answer this as well. Let me just get a book. I want you guys to tell me a couple of indie books that you've read recently or any recommendations that you have for the guys in the comments. Not preceding you guys' books because I've read them all and I love them. Well, I've got the Ark. I'm getting to it, Dave. I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited because I think, well, when I couldn't find it for a while there, and then you sent me it again, didn't you? There was a few, but I've got it now. I want to say Rachel's Pocket of Lies is probably one of the best indie books I've read this year. Like, it is absolutely fantastic. The main character, the plot and everything, the writing style, fantastic. Such a fierce female character. Really, really good. And also, I just received this, but I've read it. I got it for Indie Book Tours. Dark Time, Level 1 of Dragon's Crawl. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's
I've read it. I have it.
Yes, I've just read it. It's fantastic. Really, really good. And we do see this book, right? This is what I love about indie books as well. They have pictures. So yes, those are my two. So if you wanna recommend anything to us guys, because we don't have enough to read, obviously, let us know.
The only two that I can recommend, we've already mentioned multiple times, which is Rachel's Pocket of Lies.
Yeah,
That's a really good read. And Sean's book Sprocket, because it's you won't really have read anything like Sprocket and Sprocket the Bard before. It's really interesting, really unique, really light-hearted, but with some sort of deeper messages in it as well. Yeah, they're both excellent, both good friends. I would thoroughly recommend reading them.
To be fair, Rob, I got the recommendation for Pocket of Lies from you from Twitter. You know, when you were on chatting about it, and I bought it, and I think you might have noticed I bought it. It came on the Sunday, and I read it on the Sunday. I read it in one sitting.
Yeah, it's a quick one. I got through it. I'm a really, really slow reader because I guess I write a lot. I get very tired, and so in the evening I read like a paragraph and then go. Oh. And I got through it in a week. I found a very quick read, an easy read.
I've got a few. Just ran in, got a few copies, but The Crew by Sadir S. Samir is one of the funniest books I have read. It's like a fantasy adventure, Deadpool-ish style, with like a Middle Eastern vibe. I loved it.
Okay.
And then Bloodwoven by DJ Terrell, Fogbound by NJ Alexander, and then Ballad of Sprocket the Bard, Pocket of Lies by Rach. I'm almost done with this one. Got like 85 pages left, so I'm getting there. But there's so many great indie books out there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for me, my deep dark secret is that I haven't been doing a lot of reading lately, and I need to figure out a way to fix that. I don't know, like when you guys tell me, I could really use the advice. How do you make the time? Like when you have a full-time job and then you have to write or do your editing and like that, like, and then you still want to spend some time with your significant other. I mean, where do you make the time? Because I figure I need to figure out how to make the time, because I used to be a voracious reader, and in the last year or so, like I just haven't been. So yeah, I need to make more time for this.
The only time I get to read, unless I'm on holiday, is literally half an hour when I'm in bed. when
Okay.
I'm away from any screens, and I won't be writing because like you do need to switch off from it every now and again. Yeah, it's half an hour and I'm in bed. If I manage half an hour, I'm awfully really tired. I've got a full-time job. I finish my job. I think I'll write, do all the family stuff, and then get in bed and like 3 words and gone. That's the only time I read. That's why I'm such a slow reader. I always want to offer to read friends' books and do arcs and give reviews and do beta reads. And I'm just so slow at doing it. I can't promise to do it anymore because it'll take me a year to get through all the books I want to read.
Yeah.
I listen to audiobooks whenever I drive to and from work. I have about a 40-minute commute.
Nice.
So I've got, hour and a half worth of audiobooks there each day. And then I usually read for about an hour before bed most nights, just to turn my brain off. So even if I've been writing for 3 hours, I still need to read for a while to like decompress and get ready for bed. So I managed to get a decent amount of reading done.
Okay. That's a good idea.
I've always been a reader first, so like that's something I enjoy doing and I'm going to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It's amazing how when you enjoy reading, it never leaves you. Sure, it doesn't. It's always there. You just always want to pick up a book, don't you?
I can't imagine not reading, even if I read slow. Like I said, I can't imagine not having a book or 2 or 3 on the go.
But like, can you imagine? Like, there's probably been hobbies throughout your life where you've started them and then be like, nah, it's not for me. See, with reading, it just I never seem to not have that want to read a book, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's amazing. Yeah. Right. Well, that's great.
Definitely I miss it. So yeah, I gotta get back into it for sure.
Yeah. Oh, you will, Gordon. I'm sure you will. Keep writing. No, just don't worry about reading. Just keep writing. Right. Okay, guys. That's us. Hopefully that was a good chat. I could sit and chat to you guys all night, to be fair, because that was really interesting. And I think from the last 3, this 4th I've done, I've learned so much about writing and the indie community and all that good stuff, and I've met some really good people as well. So thanks to everyone in the comments for tuning in. Steve, it's great to see Steve. I think Steve's actually on in the next couple of weeks, so that's cool. And a few others. But thanks to the guys in the comments, and thanks to you guys for joining me as well. Hopefully you've had a good chat with each other and with me as well. But yeah, these are going to continue on for another 2 weeks. I've got 2 weeks lined up, so we'll keep going and we'll keep plugging on and we'll keep in touch with each other on social media and stuff. So yeah, thanks very much. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.